What's up, enthusiasts? It's your boy Rob, back with another video. And I know what you're saying. Hey Rob, we get to see your face again. Yes, you get to see this beautiful face once again. But guys, unfortunately, it's not due to the best circumstances because there's drama going on in our hobby, and our hobby is supposed to be drama-free. We'll leave that stuff for the video gamers, all right? And the movie critics and all that stuff. But it's spilling over into our hobby, and our mainstream, our big YouTubers, our major content creators for our hobby space, they're not talking about it, and I think I know why. But let's get into this video from Nerion talking about what's going on with GamesWorkshop, of course, and Amazon.
Regarding Warhammer, specifically Hey guys, Nerion here. There are huge new developments regarding Warhammer, specifically Amazon's Warhammer show where Henry Cavill is the producer and lead actor on. Recently, news have...
Now guys, I know you guys had to have been in on all of this, what's going on as far as Henry Cavill, how much of a big Warhammer 40k fan he is, and his sheer love for the hobby has driven him to produce an Amazon series. So if you haven't been preview to that information, you are now. And let's keep going.
Made the rounds that production on the show isn't going well because of creative differences between Henry and Amazon higher-ups. It has now allegedly come to a point where production has come to a full stop because Henry refuses to follow Amazon's guidelines.
Right, because we already know where this is going. And if Henry Cavill, who is a person who is dedicated to bringing the authentic lore of an IP that he is in love with, such as The Witcher, if he gets pushback on people that don't even associate themselves with the IP, the hobby, the game in this case, trying to manipulate things, he's not going to stand for it. So he's standing up when the little guys like us wouldn't be able to.
And refuses to insert the things Amazon demands of him, cause he argues that would go against the law and ruin the show, which is why he, as a huge fan, even threatened to rather leave the show than to make a bad one. And here...
Now guys, you know you've got to be dedicated to the hobby. When you are an actor, that's your profession, and you're saying, I would rather leave this production than let you guys taint it and manipulate it and make it something that it's not. I mean, I like to get GW's input on this. Like, are they fighting as well?
Here comes the big bummer we are gonna talk about. Cause insiders from the Amazon set are reporting that Henry is allegedly not allowed to leave the show even if he wants to. He's under contract with Amazon Studios and they want to keep him there no matter the cost. It's
Alright, so yeah, they know they've got to keep him because he's the main event. He is the guy selling the tickets. He is what's going to bring us fans, us true fans, us tabletop hobbyists into the show and feel that we are being honored by him treating the IP correctly. If they lose him, then they lose us, and they know it.
First, we are gonna talk about the Warhammer drama, cause things seem to be even worse than many assumed. While Amazon hasn't made a statement on this yet, and they probably never will cause that would destroy their show, Henry and other employees are also not allowed to publicly talk about behind the scenes problems. Thus, if they want to inform the public, they're gonna have to present themselves as insiders, and the media has to state everything they...
Which you know they're going to do. You know that someone's going to be leaking as much of the juicy stuff as possible because you got to. You know, we are human beings. We can't help but to gossip. When we get a secret, we can't help but to go and whisper it to someone else. Say, hey, guess what's going on? This, and that. Drama. And this guy's not agreeing with that guy. And this is what's going on behind closed doors. And that's okay. It happens. We're people. We are flawed. We are flawed. We are severely flawed.
Reveal as a rumor. But considering so many insiders stated similar things here, it's most likely true, but keep that in mind. I'm going to quickly hop over into VTuber mode here for a second to show you this. So as many of you have probably heard, the reason why Games Workshop introduced female Adeptus Custodes in the first place is because Amazon desperately wanted to feature them in their Henry Cavill Warhammer show.
So, I mean, talk about bending the knee. I know there's a lot of money involved in this, but for you to say, okay, we will tamper with our lore to make you happy, so you will allow us to have a show on your platform. Guys, come on. Don't sell yourselves out like that. Don't do that to you. Come on. Of all the companies that you would think that would not bend the knee, but you know, there's always a stronger power. So the Emperor has bent the knee to a far superior power, and his name is Jeff Bezos.
This caused massive fan backlash, and Henry Cavill, being a fan, he got into conflict with Amazon. They at first wanted him to insert female space marines, yet then settled for Custodes.
Female space marines would have been huge. The community would have been like chain torches at GW's door, like ready to revolt.
That's something he was and still is opposed to. And now the Warhammer show looks to be on the same path as the Witcher show. To butcher the lore, to ignore Henry Cavill's input despite him being a huge fan.
We don't want that. You do not want this to go down the Witcher route, because that show, I was really into the first season, second season, and that third season is where they kind of lost me. Again, I love fantasy through and through, and I'm usually one of those guys that's like, you know what, hey, I'll watch it. I mean, the Rings of Power, I sat there, I watched it, didn't love everything about it, but for the most part, it was entertaining. It was enjoyable. It was enough for me to come back for more, because again, when it comes to fantasy, it's few and far between really good, high quality stuff on TV.
And on the way of losing their biggest star of the show. Now let's be honest here, the only reason most people are excited for the show and why they have faith in it is because Henry Cavill is attached to it. It's not Amazon that people trust. It's not them being behind it that makes people excited for the Warhammer show. It's Henry Cavill. He's the driving force behind the hype because of him being an actual longtime fan of the IP.
And everyone knows it. Everyone involved knows that he is the figurehead to all of this. You know, he is the main mass. He is the person that will make sure us true fans are comfortable with what's going on. And again, I stated this earlier, but you know, that will come to this show with faith, knowing that it was treated properly.
He's been a fan of it since he was 10. He paints and collects the figures, he plays the games, he reads the books, and he made no secret of the fact that he's a fan, because he kept mentioning it over the years. And
this man was just building a PC in front of all of us, you know, and he's supposed to be like a heartthrob, like great looking guy. He's not supposed to be the guy that you really associate with tabletop wargaming, even though there's a bunch of us handsome guys in the hobby. So, I mean, I don't know why that's a thing.
Various interviews and social media posts.
When I do, I get very involved. I really get stuck into it, especially when it's a good game that comes along, like Witcher 3 or the Total War series. Love
what
those.
What are you playing right now?
It depends. It depends where I am, because I'm traveling right now, so online games are pretty much out of the question. Total War, Warhammer 2, that's the one which I'm on now, because that's always a good jump-in game. I can always jump in, play for a bit, play for a few hours, pass the time.
One of the last things I was playing was Total War back in the day, and I miss my PC gaming days. I might have to make a small investment, and by small I mean large investment, into a new gaming rig. I don't know.
Jump out again, and then I can come back and nothing's changed.
Geekiest thing would have to be my Warhammer stuff.
We're talking Games Workshop, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah. It's that took me a while to kind of confess to openly and publicly.
Dare I say it? I know exactly what you mean.
And even there, could you see it in his face? It's kind of like, there's a little bit of hesitation in saying this. I mean, even though it sounds like he has already kind of publicly announced that he has ties with wargaming, but even there you could see I'm not sure if I should be saying this again. But that's what's up, guys. That is a true fan. Everyone that knows me knows that I am a wargamer. Don't be ashamed of the hobby.
Collection of white undercoat spray paint that just lurks in the back of the cupboard.
Yeah. I was like, what's this? For graffiti?
Underarm deodorant. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes I paint Cal. Certainly not Warhammer. No. No, that's a great answer. It's hard to top it, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, I love it. And I've that's the stuff I've done in, as far as hobby stuff, the stuff which my escapism is concerned. All the reading I do outside of work is normally based around that or fantasy.
And you instantly see, like, when the interviewer kind of gels with him there, and they instantly have, like, okay, there's a connection that's been made. I can free up. I can talk about that. And, I think that's what a lot of people need in our space. They need someone that is almost on the outside to understand them, have some empathy, maybe, and then it's just easy to come out with it and let people know, hey, this is what I do. This isn't a mainstream hobby or anything like that. Well, not yet, at least, but it's what I do, and I'm proud to do it.
The authors. So yeah, and I've been involved in the Warhammer world for
40,000 years.
40,000 years. Oh, well, longer, depending how you look at it. But since I was probably 10.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It's been part of his
smell
life.
of paint in the kitchen. Tell me,
literally brings
30
back
years,
sense
depending
memories.
Being
40.
attached to a Warhammer show has been a long-time dream of him, so it makes sense that people rather trust him as a long-time fan more than they would trust any higher up that has no idea of the franchise. So that's why Warhammer fans like him. But on top of him being a long-time Warhammer fan, he has established himself as one of the most popular actors in general out there. And one thing that's rare to see in the industry is that he's not just popular because he's a good actor or because he played a few popular characters, but because people like him as a person. And that's something that can't be said about most actors, cause usually they're dumbasses. They're arrogant, rude, and hold the most garbage opinions that always leave you wondering if all of their education honestly comes from watching TikTok videos.
Yeah, guys, I am not one of those guys that really follows actors, when it's a situation like, you got some people they can go to a movie or they can watch a TV show and they're like, oh, that's that guy from this show and this movie. And I'm not that guy. I know like a handful of actors. I know, and they're mainly from like the 80s or early 90s, because that's the kind of kid I was. And, those are the kind of movie stars that I idolized as a child. And those are the ones that I know as an adult. But like anybody that has like come into the acting space, the movie space, film, in, I would say, the last 20 years, I have really no clue who they are, unless they're like just like upper echelon, like Ryan Reynolds or something like that. And I think even he has been acting for a long time too. So
the more you know about their persona, the less you like them. And yet Henry Cavill seems like one of the very few exceptions out there, where the more I find out about him, his actions and his positions, the more I actually like that guy. And it seems like most people feel that way about him. I've never seen someone hate on him before.
And that's the exact reason why The Witcher is crashing and burning, because they dealt Henry a bad hand. He wanted to keep the show on track, and the writers and maybe the producers of that show as well had other plans. And so he detached himself from that project, and it's been a sinking ship. It's been a Titanic ever since. And so that's what happens when you take a key component out of something. And when someone that actually genuinely cares about a project, when you remove that person and then you just have a bunch of like just fillers, or just a bunch of yes men in that spot, you can't create anything that the true fans will appreciate.
And And now with Warhammer, it's seemingly heading into the same direction. Amazon is not giving Henry the creative freedom he wishes for, cause they're forcing him to abide by their DEI guidelines. And yet he refuses cause...
Again, if you are an equal opportunist, I understand. It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But when you forcibly make people adhere to your guidelines that just don't fit within the context of a story, when you're like, hey, we need to have X amount of this type of people represented and everything else, it's just, and you're like, no, that doesn't fit my story. My story is about aliens, green people, but I still have to have like one of every race, a female and person with a disability. What does that have to do with what you're creating or the story you're trying to tell?
He argues that they would ruin the story, and anyone who has seen their guidelines that all of their shows and movies have to abide by would agree with Henry. I've covered them in my last video, but there's stuff like, at least 50% of your actors need to be women, at least 50% need to be people of color, and you can no longer just cast the best person for the job, but the actor needs to be of the same ethnicity, the same gender, and he needs to have the same sexuality or disability as the character they're portraying.
Like, how do you even force that on a creative person, like a writer or a producer, director, or whoever? How do you say, hey, listen, these are the guidelines? Such strict guidelines too. And obviously if you're making like some sitcom about some friends living in New York, then that's completely fine. You can make it happen. But if you are talking about a battlefield in the 41st millennium, and like, what? Like, it has no place there. None.
Except when it comes to white characters, cause they can be race swapped however you like. A stupid, racist and sexist set of guidelines. And they went into full effect in 2024, so directors can say goodbye to creative freedom, and we can expect Amazon shows to get even worse in the future, and adaptations to get even worse than Rings of Power. And yet Henry is there standing up to those higher ups and arguing with them. He's the reason why people are even hopeful for this show in the first place.
He really
Not
is.
Because of Amazon being attached to it. Quite on the contrary, I think Amazon being attached to it is actually worrisome to most. A former
at this point, I'm like, maybe it would have been better for Netflix to have it, or some smaller streaming service. I mean, obviously any smaller streaming service probably wouldn't have the money to do it. But I mean, obviously Games Workshop want this to be mainstream, so they've got to go with a major player. And that's in the world of streaming, there's only two top dogs, and that's Amazon and Netflix. I hesitate to say Disney, because I don't know. Disney is like in their own ecosystem, but yeah.
Epic Games executive has even suggested that Amazon is trying to destroy Warhammer with wokeness on purpose, so that they would be able to purchase Games Workshop at a cheap price.
Dude, wouldn't that be some crap? Like, wouldn't that tick you off if they're underhandedly trying to manipulate the stocks of your company and the outcome of this project so they can eventually purchase your company for a lesser price or a cheaper price? Wow.
That would be a big brain move. Push for things that they know will harm the brand to let its market value drop, and then purchase the whole company for a lot cheaper than they are now. And the possibility for that happening is there, cause they retconned the lore to act like female custodians have always existed and have always fought in that army that used to be...
Now, I don't think them forcing female custodians would be enough to do that alone. But I think they could, with the DEI thing, I think there would be enough manipulation there to where they could just ruin this whole show. Because they would just change so much that the people that actually care about Warhammer, and that's us, even though I haven't played in so long, but the tabletop gamers, we're the people that have made GW who they are today. I mean, I know they've got all these video game IPs, board games, and stuff like that, but without the tabletop community, they would not be an inkling of what they are today. And that's what I want to get across to all of you guys, that we have propped this brand up. We've propped GW up and made them what they are. And so, not like they owe us everything or anything like that, but the video gamers, they're only there because of the way we've paved. Now, I want to say this before we get too much further in this video, but why isn't any of the other larger content creators of our hobby not talking about this? Why are they not talking about it? Why isn't Uncle Adam? Why is he not talking about this? Why is Ash Barker not talking about this? You know, I love those guys. I watch their shit. I've watched their YouTube channel since I kind of started the hobby. And when it's time for them to promote products, I mean, they're right there. They're it's in our face. So why would they not want to cover this? Why would they not want to bring this to our attention? I hesitate to call them corporate shields, but I mean, let's just say they don't want to bite the hand that feeds them, and I can respect that, I guess. But it's a thing. They're not talking about it, and it's unfortunate that they'll be more than happy to jump in front of the camera and buy this book, guys. Oh, let's flip through it. It's another GW book. Oh, let's go buy it. Let's open this box that they sent me for free. It's $200, but you need to go buy it. But they're not willing to talk about this.
All male.
Sickening.
But because of current day female empowerment and shit, anything the lore used to state about custodies only accepting boys is not canon anymore. Yet that change alone was already enough to cause a huge backlash and boycott of Games Workshop products, that the stock price dropped and even the CFO, the chief financial officer, sold most of her stake in the company, and on top of that announced that she would leave the company in 2025. When people so high up the ranks start selling their stake in the company they're attached to and announce their departure, and out of all times, she announced it just after the backlash started. What a coincidence. That's a huge red flag if I've ever seen one. But the statement of that Epic Games executive is quite interesting. His name is Alexei Savchenko, and he went onto Twitter/X to write, "You know, if I was Amazon, I would continue applying pressure with TV series for lore changes, dismantle Games Workshop relationship with the fanbase, drop their price, and just buy them penny on the dollars. And then launch TV, faithful to lore. Just saying."
Man, business people, guys. They are shiesty.
This dude is playing 4D chess right there, and he was an executive at Epic Games. I don't think the executives at Amazon think much differently than this guy. The evil little gremlins that I expect the Amazon executives to be, it wouldn't surprise me if that actually turned out to be their strategy. But whether it is or not, fact is that they're currently in the process of ruining Warhammer. And they're in the process of making sure that the Warhammer show, which is going to be the first time that many casuals will be exposed to Warhammer, is going to suck ass. And yet Henry is opposed to that. Amazon insiders even reported that he threatened them to walk away from the project, but that Amazon made sure that they have the upper hand during negotiations.
Of course they will. Of course they will. They're going to make sure they win in this situation because they hold all the cards. Yes, GW could walk away. They can say, you know what? Never mind.
How do celebrities like Justin Bieber?
Never mind. We don't want it. We're going to step away. We know GW doesn't want to do that. They want their product. They want 40K to be mainstream. And this is that opportunity for them to make it happen. If they can get a show on Amazon, they will be in front of so many eyeballs. People that have never thought twice about buying any of their products. Hell, don't even know they exist. Because you've superseded tabletop gamers, superseded video gamers, and you are now into the mainstream. My wife, my kids watch Amazon Prime. I'm sure you guys have family members that have never thought twice about playing tabletop, maybe thought about playing video games, but they don't know anything about Warhammer. They're going to be watching Amazon. So many people will have access to GW through this venture. So it is imperative for it to go down. And Amazon knows this. GW knows this. Henry Cavill knows this. But Henry is the only one with the gonads to say, no, thank you. I don't want to be a part of this if we're not going to do it justice. And how is it that Games Workshop, their IP, their baby from the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, they're willing to mistreat to get in front of that mass market?
YouTuber The Archcast allegedly has an insider at either Amazon Studios or Games Workshop who stated that it doesn't look like Henry's leaving the show even if he threatened them to do so. Henry's allegedly pissed at the female Custodies lore retcon cause the Custodies are his favorite faction, and he doesn't want to change the lore for ideological purposes or to...
And here's the thing. What does that mean for Henry's performance if he's on set, he knows what the producers or the higher ups are doing to the lore and how they're rewriting it? How is he going to be there? How can he perform that? He's a professional. I'm sure he'll figure it out. But in those scenes where he knows, okay, now we've got this female Space Marine that's not supposed to be, that's not in the lore, but my hands are tied, I've got to do it. This is another Luke Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker, or whatever that new series was called from Star Wars, The Force Awakens, whichever the second movie was called in that trilogy. This is another one of those, and you see the state of Star Wars now. That could be Warhammer. Guys, I'm telling you, if you love this hobby, if you love Warhammer, make your voices heard. Let them know you're not against equal opportunity and diversity or anything like that. All these buzzwords now, all the buzzwords. But you don't want them, excuse my language, but fucking with our hobby. So, again, guys, get out in front of this thing. Post about it. And I know some of you guys want to just keep your head in the sand. I understand. Sometimes that works for people. They're not confrontational. But if you want to see this hobby, if you want to see it 40K at least, can't say the whole hobby. I mean, 40K is, I'd say, 80% of our hobby. If you want to see it get turned into a mess, we'll just leave it at that, a mess. Keep your head in the sand. Don't say anything. Just, watch those larger content creators when the new codex comes out. And it's got things that you've never seen in it before because it's trying to check all those boxes, and knowing that we don't care about that because we care about painting our figures and putting them on the table and rolling some dice. But you know what? You got to buy those books. You got to digest that content that comes along with it. And if you don't care about this, then ultimately you won't care about that, and you'll just get what you get.
Push any sort of agenda, but it
You'll get what they give you.
seems like he's bound hand and foot by contractual obligation and penalties at this point. On top of that, they stated it's also an Amazon paycheck after all, which is something any person would find hard to refuse. And for Henry,
I'm an average guy. And if I'm sitting here making this video saying, hold on, back it up. I'm an average guy who used to play Warhammer. Back in 6th edition. They're on 10. And I feel like I'm more passionate about this than a lot of people out here that are diehard fans that make content about everything that is Warhammer. Except this, oddly enough. Except this, because I guess this doesn't get them a free starter set or free Vermintide box set. No, it doesn't. This doesn't get them that. They cover this, they won't get that stuff, and that's what matters to them. They don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. But you know what? They're going to tell you guys to go buy it. Go buy it. Ho ho! Another codex. Ho ho ho! Go buy it, guys.
it's even his job, cause he's an actor. But Amazon doesn't want to lose Henry, cause his introduction and co-starring and producing in this was one of the earliest fundamental pieces of news about the Amazon Games Workshop TV show. And that's pretty much true. Henry already proudly announced his involvement, including a message stating what a huge fan he is. And should he leave now, whether willingly or by being fired, that would shine a really bad light onto Amazon, and it would be game over for their
firing Henry is probably out of the question. That'll be like the ultimate last thing. That is the last ultimatum. That is it. That's like, if they fire him, that's when they know, okay, we pretty much don't have a show. Let's fire him and let's just do whatever we want. Because they know it's not going to be anywhere near as popular if he's gone. So they're going to keep Henry. They're going to, even if they minimize his roles and only have him on camera at the front half, just so we think, okay, he's part of this. Like, you know, maybe the first few episodes or whatever. We like, okay, hey, look, Henry Cavill's there. Sign. He's approved this. We've checked that box. Henry is there. We'll watch it. And then next you know, you don't see Henry anymore. Or he's kind of like, you know, it's a cameo here and there because he's contractually obligated.
Show. Henry would probably leave that shit show if he could. He left The Witcher and he threatened to leave Warhammer. That guy has principles that he stands by.
Yeah,
Only a very small amount of people out there would be willing to reject such huge paychecks and the exposure and fame that comes alongside them. But Henry would go further than most people. It's a damn shame to see how he's being screwed over at every major role that he gets. His Superman career didn't work out all that well cause the studio screwed up the movies and that's over now. Then Netflix screwed up The Witcher show, a franchise he's a big fan of, and now he dropped his role of Geralt willingly. And now he's working on Warhammer, and the only thing he can do is make a garbage show that abides to Amazon's DEI requirements, or possibly leave the show as a plan B, if that's...
You know, that's gotta suck for him. That's gotta be in the back of his mind. This would be another show that I would leave. I've got my principles, but I am an actor. Do I put my principles and love for this hobby before my career as an actor? That's a hard one, man. That is a hard one because I don't know if he's married. I'm pretty sure he's got a girlfriend or something like that. I don't think he has any kids. But, I mean, he's still got to put food on the table. I'm sure he's got some residuals from a lot of different projects. But, you know, I mean, I'm sure he doesn't live the average guy's lifestyle. So
that's even possible. He seems like a nice guy with pretty base takes and interests.
Then again, when I look at those curtains, maybe he does. So Maybe he does live the average guy's life. But that is so cool, him putting together a PC.
But the industry treats him like trash. They honestly don't deserve him. I will keep you updated on everything important regarding Warhammer in general or the Amazon show. But for now, I would like to switch topics to Helldivers 2.
Alright, so we're going to stop the video there at least. We're going to talk a little bit and then I'll let you guys go. But that's what's going on. This is Henry Cavill versus the world right now. You know, it's Henry Cavill here. Games Workshop is in the middle, trying to appease the fans, trying to bow down to Amazon, and Amazon is here standing over Games Workshop, lording over Games Workshop, saying, follow my rules if you want your show on our streaming platform. And GW, knowing where they want to be, they want to be in that mainstream. They want to be in that limelight. So that knee will be bent. I guarantee. Guys, let me know what your position is on this topic. If you want to fight the good fight, or if you know what, you want to wash your hands of the situation, you're going to sit back and watch it play out. Whatever it is, it's all good. Just drop it down in the comments and let me know. If you haven't liked the video, like the video now. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll see you guys when I see you.